Hey there, this is your head coach Steve, and I am excited to share a few thoughts with you. We're moving forward with some of our conversation around accountability. Remember, we talked about the value of accountability. I'm wondering how that conversation in your head is going, and maybe even how it's going in practice, if you've had the chance to practice any of that. I think in the last video we talked about a couple other words that we wanted to interject into this conversation as well, right? One of them was this whole cool concept of indispensability, being indispensable. And I want to continue the challenge with you just to play around with that word, okay? And if you imagine being able to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are indispensable, or that you desire to be indispensable in the work that you do, in the places that you serve, in the teams that you reside in, and the teams that you lead. I desire to be indispensable. That's a very strong word, but it helps lay the foundation for what we're talking about when we talk about the choices we make at the critical moments about accountability or deciding by default to play into the victim loop, okay? And if all those phrases sound foreign to you, be sure to go back earlier this month and listen to the first video. We kind of sketched out an orientation or an introduction, if you will. And remember, we want to make reference to this PDF that we also included, all right? This is the accountability model framework that we're talking about, we'll make reference to, okay? So the whole idea of being indispensable, this idea of not so much pressing accountability onto people, right, but producing self-accountability. You know, the only person that really can produce accountability is the other person, or yourself, if it's an accountability challenge that you're working on. And then we had a piece of homework, and so I'm wondering how that went. Did you get a chance to get into that at all? I hope so. And if not, I encourage you to dig into it a little bit, because we made reference to the bottom part of this accountability loop, and it's actually the victim loop, the loop we want ourselves and our employees, our team members, to stay out of, because it does not produce results that we're looking for. And the one we focused on, right where my finger is, we focused on landing at the stage of blame, or the behavior of blame. And so the homework assignment, as you remember, was just to dig in to see when you could reflect on times that you found yourself there. All right, it happens, right? We're blaming something. We're blaming somebody. We're drifting out of ownership and moving into victimhood, all right? Trying to find a target as somebody else that should own the responsibility in something that we wanted to be accountable for, all right? So anyway, let me know how that's going. And feel free to drop a note or a comment as far as how your blame reflection homework is going, all right? But today we're going to move on a little bit, and we're going to really talk about this square, this rectangle, this box in between the figure eight, all right, where the two lines cross, and we'll think of it as a crossroad, okay, a crossroad where we can go, you know, east and west, or we go north and south, and we're going to call that intention, all right? So we're going to use the word intention and just try to bring a little bit of awareness and contextualization to what we're talking about with intention in this process, all right? Intention as it pertains to accountability, all right? And so we'll have some homework there. Again, a little bit of journaling homework before we put some things into action as far as correcting or some action steps to stay on track with the top part of the accountability loop that we'll get into. So intention, there's a couple of dimensions we can think about. We can think about like big picture intention, your intention in life and your intention in alignment and dreams and all that. And then what I will call situational intention, like with this particular thing, what's our intention, all right? And what it just means is identifying what we plan on, what we hope for, what we expect. Okay, and that's to help us steer us. So if left unattended, we can go all different directions. Our intention is to stay focused and produce this, right? Okay, so if we go to the supermarket, we can have the intention, right, of getting food for the following week and getting healthy food for the following week, right? And so sometimes we need to really focus on intention, maybe even restate intention, maybe revisit intention, maybe even have some prompts to help us remember what our intention is. Because without it, be left alone, or if intention drifts away, the focus on attention drifts away, what could happen in the supermarket? Yeah, the same thing that happens to me occasionally, which is letting something catch my eye and say, oh, I'll have that instead, or I'll have this or that, or pick something impulsively, right? And pretty soon we get home and we realize, I didn't follow my intention. I brought a whole bunch of junk food home. Okay? Happens like that. And this is no different. And we're talking about what's the intention when situations come up. All right? What is our intention with that thing? And if we stay focused on that, it helps us stay on the track that we want to be on, or that we can produce here going forward, rather than the track that may default, that may just happen. All right? So one thing we could talk about is, I want to be indispensable to other people, those people I value. I want to serve. I want to be a critical part of their life, their solution, their team, their mission. I want to be indispensable. Don't leave home without me, right? Don't do this without me. Don't go alone. Bring me along. I want to be indispensable. You need me, all right, as part of this team. And I want to earn the right to be able to say that. All right, being indispensable as leaders to our teams, I mean, you need me, all right, as a part of this ingredient. And I'm here for you, for us to complete this mission together. All right, and what we want, we got to work on this hard to get better at this. The goal of this is that our intention will kick in automatically when choices appear. Choices to go left or right, our intention will kick in and help come into our brain and say, the right choice is left, because our intention, that matches with our intention, all right? To get the right outcome, and to direct the right outcome, as opposed to let's see what may happen with something, all right? And remember, I don't know if any of you have a track background, okay? I'm going to use the analogy of a relay race, possibly, okay? And if we got to get all the way around the track with 4 people, all right, the rule is that you have to pass the baton to the other person, all right? So we have to be intentional about including somebody else in the next phase of it, okay? And even if we wanted to go alone, we'd be slower than everybody else, because a relay race lets everybody run their maximal speed and then hand the baton off to the next person, all right? But you have to hand the baton off. All right, that other person's indispensable. You're indispensable to them, and so when choices happen, it's like, I want to make the right choice, and I want to own this, and I want to direct it. I don't want to leave it to chance. I don't want to just see how it turns out. And often when the tough things happen and choices come up, it's very easy for our natural instinct to come out, and we start talking about why the problem happened. We start doing all the things on the bottom. We might ignore it, we might deny it, and certainly we might start blaming, rationalizing, resisting, and even hiding things. All right, that's our natural human side to come out when we have choices and problems and dilemmas and barriers. Our intention will guide us in a different direction and say, that is not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on results. I'm focused on being the person that can direct the results and dictate the results and steer the results and be in charge of the results, even if I'm linking with other people. All right? Now, what gets in the way of this? Sometimes you can be saying, Steve, yeah, that sounds like being perfect. That sounds like not ever making a mistake. Like, I'm going to direct it, and so what happens when that plan blows up? Absolutely. So perfectionism can be a big barrier. All right? Mistakes happen, for sure, in life, in work, in teams, in projects, right? Have you made a mistake at all this week? I'll raise both hands. Okay? I'll raise both hands. So mistakes happen. And so perfectionism, that thing in our brain that says, well, I'll only do work if I can do it perfectly, is a barrier to this kind of work as well. Because as soon as something happens, we want to surrender accountability, surrender ownership, because we only want to be attached to perfect stuff. Okay, so if it didn't work out perfect, it must be somebody else's fault. It's his fault, her fault. We don't want to step up and say, mistakes happen. And today, one of them happened to me. This is still my thing. I'm going to own it. And part of that is because I want to produce the intention of the thing I want to happen in the end. Okay? And I want to still be in charge, even though I made a mistake or a bad outcome happened. Okay? So we want to be aware of how perfectionism may cause us to opt out of this, out of the intention game and out of the accountability game. All right, if that makes sense to you. And what it really fosters then is inaction. When I know things are stalling with a team, I'll look in and there's probably somebody with high level influence that's also kind of a perfectionist. That's usually what's in there. And it's like, until this is perfect, we're not going to go anywhere. All right, and it's like, ooh, we're afraid, okay, of something bad happening. So our way of not owning it, of being accountable, is to not move at all. All right, and that's not good for us either, right? So here's a couple things we can do. We can work on our intention, again, globally, but even in a private, we can focus on what's my desired outcome. All right, picture what success looks like. All right, how does it feel, to what degree, what timing. Really contextualize what success looks like and set that as your intention. My whole focus in doing this is for this experience, all right? And that way when things come up, we can reconnect with our intention and say, hey, even though we veered off, or even though we tripped and fell, or even though we had something unexpected happen, let's reacquaint with our intention. Our intention was this, and let's stay on track. Let's go, all right? And we'll talk about the first couple steps of that in the next video. But we're going to be stuck right now focusing on this box. This is where all the magic happens. We got to own this box. We've got to get comfortable with stating, creating, and restating intention. All right? It will be your go-to. It will happen naturally the more you work on it. Right? Because whatever happens after that will come through intention. All right? All right? So that's really important. Okay, anything that comes up is going to go through intention, and we're going to either opt out of intention and say, whatever, or somebody else, or it's not me, or look what's happening in the world, or we'll go through intention and say, this is what our focus is and what I aspire to and what our goals are, and then we can move up and say, oh, we're not there, or this happened, and we call that the recognition step, but we'll get into that. And then we own it, and then we can move on to the corrective steps that we need. Okay? So intention, intention, intention. So a couple things we can do. We can think about 2 levels of intention. Just do some journaling. All right? One of these might be easier than the other, and if you can get to one of them, that's great. If you can get to both, that's super. All right? And it goes back to what I talked about before. A personal intention, which is a little bit broad, can get a little fuzzy, but who is it you want to be, all right, to your team and to the team that you belong to? What's your intention as far as the description of indispensable? Journal about that and colorize that a little bit. What's that look like to you? How's that feel? How do they feel about you if your intention is to be indispensable to them? All right? And just jot some bullets down to that. That's your intention as far as your existence, your personal intention. Okay? And then you can pick something else, a situational intention, and just reflect on one thing, one example, one project, one certain thing, and say, what's my intention with this? And it's the same thing. What's it look like? What's the best story? What's a success look like? The what, the how, all of that for that one thing. So that you get a little more granular, a little bit more dug in on that. Okay, and this here are just a couple exercises on getting familiar with intention, getting familiar with the concept of intention, your purposeful due north in that thing, so to speak. All right, it has nothing to do whether you've accomplished it yet. It's what you aspire to. All right. If you wake up in the morning and say, I want to be indispensable to my team, my intention looks like this. And then we go after it. And we fail and succeed, and we do great, we do good, we do not so good. All right, what we do after that is all about this. Okay, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So hopefully that sounds good. If you have questions on intention, all right, you have questions about the homework, you have questions about the direction of your journal, just Marco Polo me back. Send me a Marco Polo, send a text, send an email, send any kind of message you want to me, and I'll be happy to set up a one-on-one. We can go through it really quickly. All right, but hopefully you have fun with this. It's super important, and this will start to happen more easily and automatically as we come through situations and we have choices to make. All right, look forward to speaking to you. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Thanks.